Good morning, everybody. It's Lauren Pryor with the Environmental Learning Centers of Connecticut. I'm here on the Indian Rock Nature Preserve where our reptiles and amphibians from the Barnes Nature Center have temporarily taken up residence. And with me today we have Henry, the box turtle. Henry is estimated to be 45 years old. And next to Henry here, we have Spot, the spotted turtle. Turn Spot around. She's a little more shy. But what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about how these turtles are reptiles, so what makes them a reptile, and we're going to talk about some similarities and differences between these turtles, since one turtle is considered terrestrial and the other is considered aquatic. So we're going to start with Henry. So Henry here is an eastern box turtle. They are native to Connecticut. Both these turtles are native to Connecticut, so they can be found out in the wild here where we're living. Connecticut has 8 species of turtles. And if you hear that in the background, that's not our turtle making noise, that is one of our green frogs. So our box turtle here gets its name because she has a very high dome-like carapace. That's the top of her shell. And her shell is great. It helps defend herself in a few different ways. So one, the shell is very, very hard. It's covered in scutes, which are scales. Right, so we can get an up-close look at the scutes. So her hard shell, she can pull her body into, her head, her forefeet, even her little tail that's there. She can go completely inside of her shell for protection. But her shell, the color itself, offers her camouflage. So the color of her shell, we've got browns, yellows. So she's the color of the ground. She's the color of soil. She's the color of leaves. So as she's walking on the ground, since she's a terrestrial turtle, she can camouflage. The shape of her shell also looks like a rock. So she has protective resemblance as well as that protective coloration. So she has a few different backups on how she can protect herself if she was a turtle living in the wild. Since she's a turtle living in captivity, she's got nothing to worry about. So since a turtle is a reptile, she's got scales all over her body. She also has a backbone. So her backbone is inside of her body, but it kind of follows this line going down her shell. So right underneath there is her backbone. All reptiles have a backbone. And I have here what I can share with you, a box turtle shell. Okay, so the reverse side, here's the shell, just the bone of the shell. Inside we can actually see the backbone and a few of the ribs as well. So backbone makes the turtle stuck inside their shell for the whole life. They can never leave their shell. Their shell will grow with them as they grow. Box turtles are omnivores. So they are eating other animals and plants. Box turtles out in the wild love a variety of earthworms, insects, if they can catch frogs, but they'll also eat berries, grasses, fruits, and even fungus. We're gonna start to get, now that we're gonna be heading into April, we're gonna get into the breeding season of box turtles. So they will start to make a nest. They'll mate, and then they will travel to make a nest. And how they'll make a nest is they'll dig a hole and they'll deposit some eggs. And when those eggs hatch in late summer or early fall, the babies are all on their own. So mom box turtles do not take care of their babies. And when they're babies, they're very vulnerable because they don't have, box turtles, which I'll show you in just a moment, box turtles have a hinge shell, and young box turtles do not develop this hinge until they're at least 5 years old. And when I say hinge, I mean on the bottom of her shell, on the plastron on her shell, she's got this line. This is called a hinge. She's the only turtle in Connecticut, the only turtle species in Connecticut that has this hinge, and that allows her, when she goes inside of her shell, to completely close her shell off to predators. So young box turtles don't have that ability until they're at least 5 years old, so that makes them especially vulnerable. When they're in their eggs, foxes and skunks and raccoons also like to raid the nests, and they'll eat the eggs. Turtles have a pretty long life. They can live to be, box turtles can live to be about 50 years old, but there are some cases where they can go up to 100. So there's a pretty big variety of how old turtles can live to be. And I do have a special treat for you guys. We'll see if Henry is hungry, but I'll put some worms in her little area here so we can watch and see how she eats using her beak. So I've put some super worms down. She's immediately noticed them. So she's really showing us off here how she can stretch her neck so she can bring it all the way into her shell, or she can stretch it out about 3 or 4 inches. So there's no fork or knife here. She'll totally use her beak. She's got a pointed beak to help her chop up her food, and she'll just swallow it down. So here, when she's living in captivity, we'll feed her super worms, crickets, earthworms, and then we also give her a variety of fruits and vegetables to eat. We'll make turtle salads every single day. Okay. So while Miss Henry is enjoying that last bit of the superworm, we're going to move on to Spot, our spotted turtle. Spotted turtles are known because they've got this smooth, bluish, almost black carapace, so that's the top of their shell. And then they've got these yellow, sometimes orange spots. And they can have 1 dot per scoot, or they can have multiple dots per scoot. So just like Henry, she's got a backbone that holds her inside of her shell, going right from her head all the way down to her tail. And this turtle is aquatic, so she much prefers to be in the water. She's going to be in a bog. She's going to be in a slow-moving stream, pond edges. Spotted turtles are kind of unique because they will only eat while they are underwater, so we're not going to be able to have a demo of her eating any worms. Males of the spotted turtle tend to have thicker tails, where a female will have a more domed shell. But they're also omnivores. Let's turn her around a little bit. They're also omnivores, like our box turtle. So she's going to be enjoying those aquatic plants that are down in the murky bottom, the aquatic vegetation of her ponds. She's going to be enjoying small fish, snails, slugs, tadpoles, and just like Henry demonstrated for us, she'll chop it up with her beak and eat them in big bites. The spotted turtle, they have their breeding season in March. So these guys, once they breed, they're going to move into a field or a meadow to dig their hole to lay their eggs. They'll lay 3 to 4 eggs. And then come mid-September, those eggs will hatch. But since we have one aquatic turtle and one terrestrial turtle, right, they both have a lot of similarities. So they both have scutes, which are the scales covering their body. They both have a backbone holding them inside of their shell. They're both omnivores, eating plants and other animals. They're both ectotherms. So you might be familiar with the term cold-blooded or warm-blooded. These guys are cold-blooded since they're reptiles. The scientific term for that is ectotherm. So these guys, when they're too hot, they cannot sweat. And think about what you do when you're too cold. You shiver. These guys can't shiver either. They depend on their environment to regulate their body temperature, the sun. So when these guys get too, when they get too hot, they're going to find a shady spot to cool down. They might dig in the moist soil. And when they're too cold, they're going to bask in the sun. So they might step out onto a log or some rocks and bask underneath the sunlight. But what's different about them, since we have a terrestrial turtle and an aquatic turtle, is their feet. So if we start with Henry again, hello Henry, she's checking us out. Her feet are very squat. She's got long nails. These are feet, let's check out our back feet here. These are feet that are built for walking and digging. She's going to have a rough time swimming. Right? So a terrestrial turtle is built for being on the ground, for digging in leaves and moist soil. She can step in very, very shallow water, but if she goes into anything deeper than that, she's not going to be able to swim. Okay, if we check out our aquatic turtle, she's being a little bit more shy. So if we check out her feet, she's tucking them into her shell right now. Let's see if she'll stick her feet out. Her feet are going to be much more webbed. There we go. Much like a paddle. that you would use on a canoe or a kayak. So she's going to use her feet as paddles to swim. So they're a little flatter and wider. She can still walk. She just might be a little bit more comfortable in the water than on land when she's moving. Where Henry here, if we put worms or, say, strawberries on the opposite side of her enclosure, she can get going pretty quickly. So that's a little bit about our terrestrial turtle, the eastern box turtle, and our aquatic turtle, the eastern spotted turtle, both of which can be found in Connecticut. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. with another Facebook Live video. So if you have an environmental topic that you would like us to cover, feel free to comment below or message us, and we'll be sure to cover it for you. But from Henry here and Spot, our spotted turtle, thanks for tuning in, and we hope you'll tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m.